Okay, I think I should make a video on this. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. The 60th anniversary is still going strong and all that. The Children in Need short just released yesterday, and from what I've been seeing in the fandom, opinions are overall positive. If you didn't see, I made my reaction video to the skit. I gave my initial thoughts and said that I'm going to be doing a community reaction video. So if you want to be involved with that, put your thoughts on the short in the comments below, and I will try to include as many as I can in the video. Originally, that video, the community reaction, was meant to go up today, but after much consideration, I decided to push it back a bit. There's a topic going around the fandom now that I want to address. I want to talk about it because, hey, I'm a Doctor Who fan, that's what I do. But before that, let's talk about the short. Destination Skaro. I thought it was okay. For context, when I first watched it, I mentioned this in the video, I'd gotten back, I'd been editing my big video, hopefully that should be out at Christmas, and I randomly saw the video just on the side. So I put everything down, rushed to get my reaction out, and you can tell yesterday was a shambles. I accidentally put a filter over the wrong part of the video, which makes the whole thing blurry for some reason. My bad, guys. And the most egregious part of all, guys, I have to hand in my badge. My Doctor Who fan license. Yep, it was fun, but I officially called a Doctor Who actor the wrong name. My dumbass called Julian Bleach. Damn, I can't remember what I called him now. Oh yeah, I called him Terry Malloy. God, well it is Terry Malloy. Oh my god. If you don't know, these are both actors who played Davros. But of course, Julian Bleach is the new series actor for Davros. And I've been saying this, I'm a fan of the original Doctor Who, not this new shit. How am I expected to keep up? By knowing the name of the actor who's played the character for almost 15 years. Yep, I'm finished. I'm washed up. To be fair, I did call him the actor who played the Nightmare Man, which is true, which means subconsciously I of course knew who it was. My dumbass just misspoke and switched up the names. I was very tired, you guys. Not that that's any excuse. I think I'm gonna keep this as a running gag. Just switch up the Davros actors' names, why not? But talking of Davros, there's been a little bit of controversy, should I say, because without wanting to go too into the detail of the show itself, let's save that for another video. Davros does appear with a new redesign, and as you can see, they're a bit different. He looks a bit different. Now, what I assumed, and from the comments what a lot of you also assumed, that this meant that this was Davros from before his accident. Don't worry, I'm going to be explaining the story in just a second. And even though that messes around with things a little bit, I can live with it. But, and this is where it gets strange, T Davies had a small segment on Doctor Who Unleashed, the new Doctor Who Confidential, where he gave his reasoning for why Davros looks like that. And it seems that this is going to be Davros's permanent design from now on. Now, I'm going into this video fully expecting it to be my most disliked of all time, because I'm talking about a controversial topic, and this one seems to have ruptured the fandom. People are split, and in a time where I think people shouldn't be split. I mean, it's a Children in Need sketch, right? Surely it couldn't have been that controversial. Well, T Davies says, this is a direct quote, "Time and society and culture and taste has moved on, and there's a problem with the Davros of old, in that he's a wheelchair user who is evil, and I had a problem with that." And that one long wandering sentence was enough to divide the fandom. For no reason. Like, why even say it? You know what I mean? You didn't have to say anything. There's a lot of elements to this. Now, I heard that, in my opinion, reasonable defense that this is Children in Need Day, right? A large portion of said children in need suffer from a disability, and having a villainous character who could maybe be seen as a wheelchair user might seem a little tasteless. But my rebuttal is to not use Davros then. This didn't need to be where we went, right? We didn't need to go to Skaro. We didn't need to go to this time period. We could have just had a Slitheen. It's not like the sketch was meant to be serious. I mean, I'm calling it a sketch. It was very clearly not meant to be taken seriously, which is why it's all the more strange that T Davies would go out of his way to market it as the opposite. This is not a comedy skit, he says. Why? If I had known going in that this wasn't going to be canon and just a small little thing, I would not have complained. I'd be grateful. I'd be happy that we get a little bit of extra content, you know what I mean? But when you directly compare it to the other shorts of old, it just doesn't hold up. Now, I know this is a bit of an unfair comparison, but which one is better? Night of the Doctor or Destination Skaro? I am sure that one person in the comments will disagree with me on this one, but if you guys are being real, you know the answer. But anyway, let's get back on topic. Let's talk about Davros. Is he a wheelchair user? Well, I see the chair, but where are the wheels? No, jokes aside, this is a big deal. If what Rusty Davies is saying is true, then it's very unlikely that Davros will be seen again in the chair, which is terrible. It's frankly terrible, and I'm going to explain to you all why. But in order to do that, I have to talk about retcons. Retcons? In Doctor Who? Shock horror, I know, but let's talk about them. Let's talk about the Timeless Child. Wow, woohoo, I filled my daily must mention the Timeless Child quota. I'm just like you, comment section, but I do understand why this was a big deal to people. I've said before that I'm not a massive fan of the change, but I also said, and I stand by this, the Timeless Child does not change the story. Unlike many other retcons you can point to, this doesn't actually affect any of the events that we see on screen. It simply alludes to a mysterious past, one which may or may not be dumb as hell. This, if Rusty Davies' words are to be believed, directly goes against the whole story of the Daleks. And I'm not going to nerd rage about it because in the end it is just a little short, and one which I can easily ignore, as we all do with certain parts of the Doctor Who universe. But I want to take a moment to talk about why he's wrong, and why it does affect everything from a story standpoint. Listen to me, story standpoint. And why having Davros look like this is better than having him look like that. Now, I'm not going to be talking about the morals of the decision, at least not in depth, but I think personally it's a pretty dumbass decision that I've never heard anyone complain about before. Now we've got all the revisionists coming out and saying, yeah, it always offended me, or yeah, who cares about Davros anyway, etc. But genuinely, I've never heard the criticism before in my life. It seems like a pretty haphazard way of dealing with things and viewing the world. Oh, people in wheelchairs can't be villains for some reason, so the solution is to remove all the characters in wheelchair? What? How does this solve your problem? This reminds me of how when the 13th Doctor regenerated, they did the costume change and then they gave some random explanation that doesn't even line up with Rusty Davies' own wanted outcome. Like, what was the point? But anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about why this doesn't work. If this is the new design for Davros going forward, Series 9, I will never talk bad about your Davros design again. What the hell is this? Let's talk about iconography for a second. What stands out more as a silhouette? This or this? This is just some random guy. I bet most people didn't even know it was Davros till they said it. This design sucks. Now, if they were to bring Davros back without the old design, maybe they could pull it off well. Now, this is being the most charitable and generous I can possibly be. If they say, had it be a fake out, and it turns out one of the characters in the stories is Davros, and they play into the fact that you don't recognize him. And it turns out he maybe cloned himself or implanted himself in the clone or something. But even that sounds weird and pointless and out of character. Speaking of which, let's talk about Davros's character. Davros is the creator of the Daleks, the originator of Doctor Who's greatest enemy. We've had quite a few portrayals of Davros over the years, but throughout his character has remained mostly consistent. He's a genius, truly, a scientist who knows more than anyone else of his species. And he's also completely insane. He's a mad egomaniac, demanding a cult of personality around him at all times. He is filled with hatred. There is no happiness there. He lost any semblance of what made him human when a Thal bomb completely destroyed his body, leaving his eyes permanently sealed shut. But even then, even only able to move one hand, he was able to bring himself back, create a way for him to move again. And the hatred that that event sparked within him spawned the Daleks. And he made them in his own image. Do you know why they're called the Mark III travel machines? It's because this is the Mark I. Davros made the Daleks looking like him. That's why he's half Dalek. It isn't a wheelchair, he is a Dalek. Are Daleks villains in wheelchairs? Do we need to get rid of them too? Davros is genocidal. He is evil, but also vain. A control freak. It's why when he's hoisted by his own petard, it's all the more tragic. Davros goes to push the button to shut down the Daleks, but even when faced with his own death, he cannot. He falters and dies for it. Killed by the Daleks. It's good stuff. And you know what? Give me back that badge. I'm going to talk about Genesis of the Daleks now. Genesis of the Daleks is one of the most grounded, mature, and layered portrayals of the Daleks in Doctor Who. There truly is nothing to compare it to in the modern series, so imagine this. Terry Nation, the writer who made the Daleks, was immensely successful, and over the years, the Daleks got more and more played for laughs, until the episode Death to the Daleks, where the Daleks are literally being defeated by sticks. And then imagine that this same writer, who had been doing it for over a decade now, decided to make the most serious story featuring them ever. And then you've got Genesis of the Daleks, the wastelands of Skaro. The episode begins with soldiers being gunned down. This episode is oppressive. There are so many moments I can go to highlight how dark this episode is, but let's focus on this one. Sarah Jane has been captured and is forced to work on a rocket. She's handling highly radioactive materials and forced to work in inhospitable conditions. However, after a lot of preparation, the workers see a way out. They have a chance to escape, but to do it, they have to climb the scaffolding to reach the top. And so there's this truly tense scene of everyone climbing up the rocket, Sarah Jane desperately trying to get out of there. The bodies fall down beside her. And then we get this prequel sketch where Davros can't find the name of the Dalek. That's tasteful. They even pull out the, "Hey guys, I think I got it." What is this, Van Stick? Do you remember when everyone, including me, got very angry that in The Witch's Familiar, Davros opened his eyes? That's because it ruins the story. If Davros could open his eyes the whole time, why didn't he? Davros is blind, both literally and metaphorically. He can only see the world through his eye stalk. Do you get it? He's like a Dalek. He only sees things the way that they see things. It's genuinely genius. And so to have it be that he could open his eyes the whole time, that removes a lot of layers to that. So you can imagine how removing all of it drastically changes the character. Yes, Davros being deformed is key to the story. Just like how Darth Vader being deformed is key to his story. It is a vital part, and part of the reason why we've never been shown Davros pre-deformed before. Except, oh wait, we have. I've seen an argument going around recently that, oh, it shows that Davros was evil all along, and that some people are just born bad. But no, The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar go to great lengths in arguably the only interesting part of those episodes, dealing with the young Davros. Does he deserve to die, even when he hasn't done anything wrong? He was not born bad. The situation around him created that evil. Davros has nothing. I don't know if T Davies is going the route of maybe pretending that this is how Davros has always looked, or if he intends of even bringing him back ever. I think I would have been fine with the Davros change if he hadn't given his reasoning, because this is children in need. They don't have a lot of budget. I doubt they could consistently do all the makeup, the prosthetics, the chair, all of that. That's a lot of time and money, and it's a lot easier to just have him be played by David Wisher. But this reasoning is not satisfying enough to change the story. I'm sorry. This isn't a case of, oh, but does it really matter? It does. The timeline not adding up in a silly short doesn't matter. The Doctor making a bootstrap paradox with a sink plunger doesn't matter. Changing the design and story of one of the show's greatest and most layered villains doesn't matter. Matters a little. And misses the whole point of the story while doing so. It's like we can't look at any of the themes nowadays. We can't appreciate any of the stuff the people who came before us were doing. It's just, I think it looks like a wheelchair. I haven't spoken to anyone else about it, but I'm sure they must be sad. It makes me nervous going into the 60th anniversary. Ignoring the terrible music and some of the wacky lines, who cares, man? Russell T Davies' mindset going in has kind of just been weird. Even if you are super progressive, and I'm sure there are a few of you in the audience somewhere, have the two main decisions Russell T Davies made so far, redesigning Davros and making the 13th Doctor's clothes regenerate, have those done anything? Are those even important to you? Are those even good? They just seem incredibly out of touch in my opinion. They aren't in accordance to any of the issues that I've actually heard, whether or not I even agree with those. It's so strange. I have said this before, but I haven't really liked any of his work that he's done after Doctor Who, but But I want this to go on record, I do think he is the GOAT. Like all Doctor Who showrunners, even with their faults, I still think they're all the GOATs. And as Stephen Moffat says, all this new stuff is fan fiction anyway. I do appreciate Rusty Davies' strength to see something that he doesn't like and being willing to change it. I respect that, even if I disagree with his assessment of Davros being an evil person in a wheelchair. I don't think the wheelchair is what makes him evil. I don't think it's a wheelchair to begin with. And I also think the whole mindset and ideology behind it are strange, wrong, and don't align with reality. But as I said, standing up for what you believe in is always admirable. And I must confess, I thought the way he worded it was relatively respectful. As I said, I imagine this will be my most disliked video of all time. But my question is, if Chris Chibnall said this, would you like it? I think the statement is actually quite reductive. Reducing disabled people down to the disabilities and then assigning moral virtue to that? As I said, it's a fantasy land, it doesn't make sense. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? I'm making my community reaction video, gonna be talking about Terry Malloy, gonna be talking about Julian Goodison. Leave your comments below on what you think, and I'll try to include as many as I can in the video. With all that said, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and if you want to help support the channel, you can click the join button below to become a member and gain access to a multitude of perks and benefits, including exclusive videos, behind the scenes footage, and access to the Discord server. A massive shout out to my members: Just Him, Teddy Bite, Oz Baxter, Green Goko, Dr. Skelly, Andrea Lee, Zay, Kastretch, Leia S, and Pot Noodle OW. With all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.